What's going on, sports fans? This is Jake Waxman.
And Tyler Avalette.
Coming to you from the studio here in Waterford with another Friday Roundtable on the 11th of July. We're going to kick things off, of course, with some more baseball talk.
Absolutely. The Detroit Tigers took 2 of 3 from Tampa Bay recently. They play the Mariners tonight at 7, weather permitting. And 6 members of the Detroit Tigers are going to the All-Star game. Let me pull them up really quickly. They are Tarek Skubal, Gleyber Torres, El Mago, Javi Baez, Riley Green, Zach McKinstry, and Casey Mize. Several of them were reserves that were added to the American League roster for the All-Star Game in Atlanta on Tuesday night for injuries, and several were through fan voting.
Oh, I was going to say, Tyler, no Torque? No Torkelson?
No Torkelson.
Wow.
But there is a Torque Bomb highlight we want to show you. Roll the clip.
Thank you.
Are you ready for this?
That's a nice boom.
Oh.
And it wasn't anywhere close to the pizza. Little Caesar's mascot. If a ball goes directly
One
into
happy fan?
Yep. And if it goes into it, the hole, everyone in the Metro Detroit gets free Little Caesar's pizza. It has yet to happen in the so years that we have had it there.
Absolutely. That was a really nice looking home run. It bounced right off that fence, too. So, denying the deny. No, sorry to that catcher. It was a heck of an effort, but it just bounced over to the other side of the fence. So, it's a home run. But these Detroit Tigers, if you still got questions about whether or not they're for real, well, I mean, clips like these are evidence that, oh, yeah, they're for real. Holding down, locking down the American League, currently at, I believe, 59-35, which, holy cow, that's a really impressive record, all things considered. And that many guys in the All-Star game, okay, that blows my mind. Of course, no Spencer Torkelson. I mean, I'm still kind of like, what? But still, a lot of Tigers in the All-Star game. Right now, all this is a culmination of this Tigers team, which continues to roll all over the American League.
That they do. And really, there's something to factor in. One, if they win, whether it's tonight, tomorrow, or Sunday against the Mariners, at least one game, they will be the Tigers will be the first team to hit 60 wins this season. And to be able to do that, heading into next week's long 4-day break, is going to be impressive. Also, this is the most the Tigers have had sent to the All-Star game since 1984, the last time they won a World Series.
Is history lining up for this Detroit Tigers team? One has to wonder, is history bound to repeat itself? Well, Detroit sports fans, I'm pretty sure that's what you're hoping for. But regardless of what you believe, I mean, superstitions aside, hey, this is a Tigers team that's got a really good chance to pretty much go all the way, even after the All-Star break, all things considered. And getting to 60 wins before that All-Star break, holy cow, that is, wow. This Tigers team, I mean, they got this is a really deep team, really complete team when you think about it. Great on offense, their defense is tough, and pitching, some of the best in the MLB, without question.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Casey Mize is the representative for the Tigers here. I would have thought it would be someone like Skubal, but he would not be starting at all this weekend if that were the case. And it's still a good thing, and hey, that's okay for us. Skubal starts are always must watch for good reason. We saw what happened when he pitched against the Twins on ESPN. Over 2 million viewers for that game. It's still impressive.
Sounds like somebody's drawing a lot of eyes to the MLB and to television. But what Tyler is saying here is that pretty much, the Tigers, they got plethora of pitchers who can step up and make plays and help guide the Tigers or help the Tigers pitch their way, for lack of better words, no pun intended, to victories.
And and really, if you told anyone that Baez would be an all-star at center field at the start of the season, people would look at you crazy with how bad he had been playing the past few years in Detroit. But that start to the season he had when he was in center field, where I kept showing you guys all these highlights, it's insane with what he has been doing so far. Even when he's back in the infield, it's still impressive with what he has been doing so far this season.
Clearly, Javier Baez, he's found another gear in Detroit. He's found something, and he is playing some of the best baseball of his career. Now, I'll be honest, okay, so I'm a little surprised, but I'm not too surprised. Being a Cubs fan and pretty much being fortunate enough to witness the World Series, which the Cubs win, and he was a part of that World Series. So I'm not too surprised that he's doing as well as he is. I figured he'll find another gear because, you know what, because I'm a biased Cubs fan. And Baez is talented. He's always had another gear in him. And sometimes it can take some time to find that other gear and a different set of circumstances. And it's worked. That's what I think Javier Baez has gone through, and things are working out for him pretty well as we speak.
Now, speaking of the Cubs, you guys have a couple of all-star representatives going for the National League. Am I correct?
As far as I can tell, Tyler, I can name at least two. Two big names. So the first of which is Kyle Tucker, who has had a really great season. One of the big reasons the Cubs are doing as well as they are. And the second guy, all right, you know what? I'll tell you who the second guy is, but I'll start by saying this. Can we roll the second clip, please? Here it is. Pete Crow Armstrong with another home run bomb. Oh, that was close. That was a heck of an effort by the guy to try and take it away, but
nope.
It just went over his head and into the plants over there. But this was one of two home runs that Pete Crow Armstrong hit against the Twins yesterday in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Twin Cities, of course. Yes. And Cubs, of course, went on to win that game by ridiculous margins. And,
I know what you mean by ridiculous margins. I've watched a few Tigers games, a favorable blowout, and you get really funny announcer banter.
Everywhere you go on the streets of Chicago, there are three letters that keep coming to mind. PCA. All right, PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong. He's the big reason why one of the big reasons why this Cubs team is where they're at right now, and deservingly an MLB All-Star on the National League side of things. Can't wait to see what he does in the All-Star game. And thanks to his contributions, the Chicago Cubs keeping a hold of the NL Central at 55-38.
I'd really like their chances if they go. I'm going back to take the best record in the National League. I've been noticing the Dodgers slipping up big time. See also getting swept by the Astros in the 2017 World Series rematch and not doing all that hot in the city of beer.
Are you suggesting, Tyler, that they may have had a little too much beer in Milwaukee?
I don't know. I can't blame the Sards for how they did against Houston, though. So, mind you, for a little bit, the Dodgers had the best record in the league overall, while the Tigers slumped it had. But eventually, last weekend, they just started hitting on a little skid of their own. And, when we're seeing any challengers to the Tigers within division, within the league, within the overall majors, you come for the Tigers' best record, you're slipping a little. It's just odd. Because, don't get me wrong, I'm liking this league lead in the Central, but I kind of want to see a little competition. I mean, granted, the best record in baseball may seem a bit inconsequential in the grand scheme of things right now, and matters only depending how far you make it into the postseason. and especially when you hit the World Series. But for now, it might not seem like it means much.
And you know what? Right you are about that. The thing is, as you've said, Tyler, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And, it's the Tigers. They've got the best record in all of baseball. The key for the Tigers is, not to go like overly fast with getting all these wins. Just pace yourself. Do your thing. Don't do anything out of your game plan that will stress you out or tire you out. It's a long regular season, and the postseason is almost as long, or can feel almost as long. So, got to make sure you keep things balanced. And this Tigers team looks right now like they're keeping things pretty balanced. Like they're not trying to do anything dumb. They're just trying to focus on what they do well every week, play their game. String together one victory at a time, no matter how each game goes.
Yes, I will say this, though. Any people that struggle with how concerned they are during these little slumps, relax. These things happen for a reason, like we've talked about in the past. About it's why I keep saying about baseball. So it only proves your point about what you just said earlier.
Unless you're a Chicago Cubs fan and you're just like, oh no, we're going back to being the lovable losers. No, this is a joke. In all seriousness, though, same with the Cubs. Just pace yourself. You're going to have some losing skids, small, as long as you keep them small. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the NL is wild, all right? You mentioned the Dodgers in a slump, and, you got the Mets, kind of back and forth. And it's the same with the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
They have some streaks where they're hot, and others, they just go stone cold all of a sudden. Bats go quiet. All that stuff, la-di-da-di-da, blah, blah, blah. That stuff. The thing is, that's just part of baseball. It's not about what you do in the regular season. It's how prepared you are come postseason time.
And these teams are going to have to really figure out what to do when we get toward the end of the month and trade deadline. And I'll just leave it at that.
And speaking of leaving it at that and shifting gears into our next subject. Can we roll the next clip, please? So, this guy has been all over the news. And in case you're wondering, this is Christian Horner, the former, and I said it, former CEO of Red Bull Racing. Just this Wednesday, he was sacked by his team, out of the blue. Now, while I did talk about this guy on Wax on Wednesday, in the 2 days following, there's been more that's been coming out of why Red Bull made the decision to just pull Christian Horner's plug out of the blue like that. So, and according to something Christian Horner said, this is the biggest thing I've learned so far. According to a statement made by Christian Horner says he's still with the team, actually. Like, he's still with them, but he's been removed from his duties. And the first thing he said was, this move caught me by complete surprise.
I don't blame him. I feel like it's what you would be considered as like a chairman emeritus role type of situation. But yeah, I am stunned that this happened. This team, throughout parts of the 2010s and even into the mid 2020s, they've been dominant in Formula One. And they're struggling a tad with the two Red McLaren guys of Piastri and Norris. But to see Red Bull struggling, even with the dominant Dutchman and Verstappen struggling a tad, this is not good. So I don't blame the Austrian energy drink company sponsoring team for basically tossing him to the curb there. Not at all.
It honestly, and as I mentioned in my Axe on Wednesday podcast this previous Wednesday, and by the way, sorry about the unorganized clutter that last episode was. That was completely my fault. You know what? I've always said, we're all when it comes to sports, everyone is a replaceable cog in the machine. All right, everybody's time comes. Keep in mind, Christian Horner has been with Red Bull for about 20 years now, and has achieved a lot. As I've mentioned, the 8 drivers' championships and the 6 constructors' championships. Red Bull, he helped turn that Red Bull team into a powerhouse without a doubt. So,
And married to a member of the Spice Girls.
oh, that's right. From what I understand, so obviously it looks like Red Bull is preparing for a rebuild. Maybe the aftermath of last season, because that second car really struggled for Red Bull. Like,
Yeah.
Checo Perez, I mean, just too much inconsistency there and a whole lot of wrecks, and that's a lot of cash that's coming out of the team's funding and to try and repair those race cars. So they haven't had a whole lot of money to kind of develop not only like last year further development into last year's race car, but this year's race car and next year's race car. So in a way, there's been some problems there, and this could be, and these are factors, and this is one of just a few factors that I think may also be beyond Christian's control at this point, because not all of it's his fault. It's his job just to make sure all the cars are set up well and that stuff, but he can't help it that sometimes you got a second car that's struggling. Okay, so maybe there were some things he could have done, but when you got a driver that's crashed a lot, and then the start of the season didn't go as well, like they sacked, I think Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
2 races. That's a tough decision. He's been in kind of a tough pickle, and not all these things are his fault. I mean, I somewhat can understand where Red Bull is going with this, but then there's just more that keeps coming out of this that I am still learning about here.
Yeah, this is not good. Hopefully, once they switch over to the Blue Oval partnership next year, and you start seeing the Ford badge on the vehicles, things might change when they start working with the folks in Dearborn, but we'll see. Although something tells me we won't be seeing Yuki Tsunoda back in there because that guy's with Honda. So,
without a doubt, I mean, it's a fitting partnership between him and Honda. But I look forward to seeing, of course, on a side note, I do look forward to seeing the Blue Oval back in Formula One.
And I'm really looking forward to Cadillac entering the sport because Ford versus GM hits the global racing stage.
Maybe Christian Horner will get a job there. You never know. Maybe he'll become their CEO. I mean, wherever Christian decides to go, he's going to land a pretty good job because his experience says it all. He's done a lot of great things building up a team in Formula One. He's well experienced in that.
Yeah, we'll see how things go for him going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Cadillac makes a move for him. And heck, we need to start thinking about who they could be getting as their top drivers, their drivers to go for with their new team starting next season. But we'll see.
That'll be a very interesting case to see how that Cadillac team is organized. A couple final things or 2 more things before we close out this subject. Okay, something else some fans have been commenting on the firing of Christian Horner. Some people believe that the father of Max Verstappen, Josh Verstappen, may have had something to do with this because Josh Verstappen, who, again, Max Verstappen's father, he's also Max's agent, too. So there's a lot of negotiating power within the Verstappen family, starting with Josh Verstappen. And also, maybe this is something that the boss of Team Red Bull had something to do with it. Dietrich Mateschitz? Sorry if I can't pronounce.
Yeah, it's Josh Verstappen. That family's Dutch.
Jos, thank you.
Josh Verstappen, I think it is. Yeah, either way, that family is. His father was a racer in the 90s and 2000s, scored a few podiums. That was the highlight of the Netherlands as a F1 team, as a F1 country before Max came onto the picture.
Yes, indeed. And, okay, so we mentioned Max Verstappen's father possibly having something to do with this based on the negotiating power. Maybe he demanded that Horner be fired or Max would either leave or stay. I mean, that's another great mystery. With the Horner domino falling, what's going to happen with Max Verstappen? Is he going to leave for the Mercedes or the Aston Martin, or does he stay at Red Bull? And one final note. If this isn't sending shockwaves through F1, and in more ways than one, then I don't know what is. Because this goes to show, it doesn't matter how successful you are or how much more you have left in the tank. Anyone can lose their job at any minute. Anyone could just have their plug pulled in any minute. And Christian Horner has sadly, as successful as he is becoming, his success will always speak for him. And, great CEO, but he's unfortunately at the moment become kind of the photo definition of getting your plug pulled early for the moment. And there could be a lot of changes in the way other organizations think about like how long they want to keep guys around or how contracts with CEOs are structured and other personnel. This is crazy.
Yeah, the team principals in the Formula One teams, it's proof right now that they're expendable. We'll have to see how much more of this fallout is contained as we keep hearing more and more about it.
Yep. I mean, to close off, Christian Horner, he was a big name in Formula One for a reason, due to his success with Red Bull and building up the race team the way that he did. And, of course, for the controversy at Abu Dhabi in 2021 when he got in the ear of the guy running the race. And some people speculate he may have manipulated the outcome. But regardless of what you believe, Christian Horner's reputation precedes him. And no doubt he'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But this just goes to show in this day and age of sports, no job is truly safe, no matter the length of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting gears. All right, Tyler, let's say you and I have a little bit of a debate.
Okay.
So NASCAR has been in the news recently due to two drivers who are some of the most controversial in the sport, Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin. They said something that I took very particular interest in. They've said that NASCAR has too many road courses on the schedule. So I'm going to ask you this question, Tyler. Do you think NASCAR has a road course problem on the schedule? Too many? Too few? Your thoughts?
Well, I'm surprised to see the big push of road courses in this past decade plus, because growing up in the 90s and 2000s, you only had two road courses all season. You had Sonoma in California, where they're racing at this weekend, by the way, and then you had Watkins Glen in upstate New York. That was it. Mm-hmm. Then we started seeing tracks like Road America. Then you start seeing the Charlotte Fall Race becoming a Roval, road course oval hybrid. Then we had 2 years where Daytona's infield road course got used to replace other tracks. Now you got races at Circuit of the Americas and your first race in Mexico City at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And like I said, Road America held races. IMS Road Course did. And now you've got the possibility of San Diego hosting a NASCAR race.
Oh, my.
But as a street course alongside, not to mention, forget the Windy City.
Chi-town.
Yeah, do I feel like they got too many road courses? Maybe they do. It sure is a lot more than what I was used to.
All right, so now that we got Tyler's stance on this, I'll give you mine. Like Tyler, I grew up a NASCAR fan, and I recall, watching the whole season, each and every year when I was much younger and going into college, there were only 2 road courses. As Tyler mentioned, the Glen and Sonoma, or Wine Valley, as some people call it.
Yep.
You get a taste of the wine if you win.
Uh-huh.
And now we got, NASCAR making a 4-way into markets like Chicago. They're going to be going into San Diego. You mentioned Mexico City.
Yep, they did back in June, yep.
And, of course, we've got, I also want to mention Circuit of the Americas, or COTA as it's called.
Yep, I did mention that one.
That is a beautiful, beautiful facility. That's actually, out of all the road courses they go to, that's my favorite. Now, here's the thing. I do kind of like that they've added some more road courses into the schedule. I think, the more the merrier. But here's where I stand on it. Let's not go any more than, say, 4. You might be able to get away with 5, but I would go no more than 4 if I'm NASCAR. And here's a couple of reasons. I mean, the thing is, you don't want to oversaturate the road course mania. And another thing is, it gets away from the identity that the sport was built on. The ovals, the short tracks, the intermediate tracks, the super speedways. That's what really has made NASCAR what it is. Mm-hmm. And really, here's the thing. So I don't think NASCAR needs to add more road courses. I think 4 is enough. I'd keep COTA, the Watkins Glen, and Sonoma. And then if you want to shake it up every year between a different road course, okay. Like San Diego, Chicago. I just don't think, like Tyler says, I don't think we need to be going to that many road courses in a single season. And another reason is road courses, Tyler, are extremely, extremely hard on stock cars. Like, you hit the curve wrong, part of the frame could come loose, and that could actually ruin a race car driver's day.
Cody Ware's car got damaged pretty badly in Chicago at the very end, mind you. And yeah, are we seeing American stock car racing, or are we seeing a glorified version of European/Australian touring car racing, guys?
So NASCAR, it kind of sounds like you have a little bit of an identity crisis on your hand with how many more road courses you're adding. That's just my honest opinion, and that's what Tyler is mentioning. So, like I said, there are certain cars. You got Indy cars and Formula One cars. Those cars were built to run on the road courses. Same with the IMSA cars or WeatherTech series. Those cars were specifically designed to the frame, to every single component was designed to run on a road course. They're designed to be tough enough to withstand all the abuse that a road race, say like a Long Beach or even Chicago street course, could all the threats to a race car that these courses can bring, because they are tough. And with these stock cars, they're designed more to race around oval. Like, I'm not saying they can't be designed to race on road courses. It's quite possible, but the design of the NASCAR's Gen 7 car and the past cars like the Gen 6, Gen 5, even the Gen 4 in a way, they were designed more to just go in circles, all right? Short tracks, intermediates, super speedways, that was their bread and butter. They were designed perfectly for that. With road courses, you have to add a few more components, and you got to have brakes that are just so tough that even when they heat up to like volcanic temperatures when you hit the brakes on it, that they can last the whole race. And it's difficult to build parts like that for a stock car, and let alone the frames. It's tough to design frames that are tough enough not to get like beaten up too much on the road courses. And one final thing, road courses they take a physical toll on NASCAR drivers, all drivers too, but NASCAR drivers feel it a lot and a lot of it revolves around the design of these stock cars. They're built more for ovals than they are road courses. So, in conclusion, I actually agree with Brad and Denny to a degree. I think NASCAR has a few too many road courses. Let's do just 4 a season, I go Coda and Watkins Glen, Sonoma, and then the last one could be a wild card of your choosing. Try to shake it up every year if you're trying to reach out to different markets.
Right. I mean, we're getting a little too much. There's a reason we don't race at Road America, and there's a reason they stopped doing, and there's a reason that they got rid of the Indianapolis road course and Daytona road courses. Those two tracks did not really work well for a reason. So, for stock car racing, and it showed pretty badly. Now, granted, we don't race at Daytona because that was always a stopgap. And it's nice to have stock cars back on the IMS oval, so that's why we don't race on the road course at IMS anymore. But other than that, I kind of feel like you're going a little overboard,
Absolutely. Tyler, I think we're both in agreement on this subject. And one final thing I will add is not all the drivers on the NASCAR circuit, okay, yes, you guys can call this a criticism, but not every driver on the NASCAR circuit knows how to run a road course. There are plenty of drivers on the NASCAR circuit that do, but there are some that don't. And in a lot of these road course races, it shows when you see drivers just overdriving corners or using up their brakes or damaging their frames on a wheel hop, to name a few things.
Oh, yeah.
So, driver skill and oversaturation of the road course, as well as the abuse that road courses put on the stock car body and the driver itself. Those are reasons I think NASCAR needs to just keep it to 4 a year, in my opinion.
Like you said. I feel like they do need to stop going overboard. Unfortunately, if they go to a place like Brazil's Interlagos, it just shows that NASCAR's not really going to care what people think.
Well,
We'll just see what happens.
yep, they are in the entertainment business after all.
Uh-huh.
And I can only just say my piece, but it has no effect on them.
Yep.
All right. We are shifting gears to our final subject of the day, which is none other than, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this week's golden moment in sports. Sports fans, we're all human. We have good times, and sometimes we experience tragedy, like this referee who lost his mother before this game. And kudos to this soccer player right here who comforts the referee, tells him I lost my mother, and it's bro hug time. So, this is, and the folks, sometimes, hey, we all go through tragedy. Even people in sports will go through tragedy. You know, just ask Brett Favre. He had a game against the Raiders like many seasons back, and he lost his father before that game and still went out and played. Mm-hmm. So, and it's difficult to put those kind of emotions aside. But hey, props to that referee for being able to do his job the night that he lost his mother, and props to that soccer player for being a class act and giving the referee the comfort he needed. It's in sport, especially in sports and across the world. It's beautiful when people come and support others who are going through tough times.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we are all human, and we all have only one life on this planet. We need to make the most of what we have.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter whether you're a soccer player or like a sports figure or a referee or just a fan. Hey, you know what? Being there for others and supporting others, it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And this is this moment in soccer, it's a beautiful example of the best of humanity. And for one person, it's the darkest of times, and then the other, it's the moment where he says, all right, how can I come to this person's help? How can I come to his aid? How can I comfort him in what is one of the darkest moments in his life right now?
Absolutely.
And with that being said, that is all we got for this week's Friday Roundtable. Once again, special thanks to my man Tom Lavalette, who works so hard. And special thanks to Josh, Mary, Whitney, Jim, the entire crew here at the studio here in Waterford. Greatly appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Follow us on Two Guys Talk Sports on Facebook and Two Guys Talk Sports and other things on YouTube to get more videos and more updates on the Friday Roundtable. And with that being said, we will say goodbye, and we hope you all have a great weekend. This is Jake Waxman
and Tyler Lavalette
of Two Guys Talk Sports, signing off.